Hello everyone, my name's Dr. Sunfun. I'm going to be starting a video series where each day I break down the top 5 picks for each lane using meta-analysis, a scientific term. You can read up on it at Wikipedia. I just have the link here. I'm going to be using Mobifier as a visual aid for my guides and going over each build with each champion. The sites I'm using are Lolalytics, OPGG, League of Graphs, U.GG, and Blitz.gg. At the moment, I'm combining them all together into one so that you can have a better look at what you should be playing and giving you a better chance at climbing up in ranked. I'm a data scientist, a little background on myself, but don't really like my job. So I'm going to try to become a content creator by showing off the stuff that I do for myself anyways in ranked, and giving it to you guys instead. So let's start going over the build for Soraka. Soraka is the number 1 pick right now in the top lane for patch 10.3 at the start at least. I will be going over every single role, and then I'll go back to the first role I started. So in next week's video on, this is Thursday if I release it today, next week on whenever the week is that I release the video for that lane, I will update whichever lane I last did. Um, anyways, and of course, in 10.3 is when I'm starting out trying to do content creation, and this is probably the most controversial that it'll ever be. I've been doing meta-analysis for a while, and this is the first time that the best champion isn't the number 1 pick on my analysis. Set is the best champion in top lane right now, but because of his ban rate, he is not the number 1 pick that you should be picking and practicing. Set is banned in about 60% of his games. Depending on the site that you use, I've seen as high as 65%. So if you choose to practice Set, you're only going to get to play him like 2 times every, yeah, that's right, 2 times every 5 games, which isn't enough for you to guarantee yourself to climb. Um, you need to have like a 51% win rate if you want to be climbing, and that's over the long term. In the short term, if you only play like 1 or 2 games a day for the whole year, you want a little bit higher than 51 if you want to get up to diamond. Regardless, Set is the number 1 champion, but his ban rate is so high that I don't recommend you play him. He's actually number 6 on my list, so I'm not even going to talk about him really, except for this one segment to start off with. Now moving on to Soraka, she's the number 1 pick right now. In 10.2, when I was doing it for myself, still before I decided to try to get into content creation, I saw Soraka and Sona in the top lane, and I was super confused because I play top lane quite a lot, and I had never seen it in my games, and I was very confused. But apparently, it's like a Asian um, pick, and now, of course, it's been played by G2 in competitive, and it is very oppressive in lane, and it's not very highly banned, so it's a good pick to pick up right now. Summoner spells, Flash and Barrier, every single game. The items, based on the 5 sites that I'm using, this is the highest percent win rate given the pick rate for this build order. First item, Athenes, then get your Boots of Lucidity. Second item, Redemption, like full item, I mean. Third item, Ardent Sensor, and fourth item, Spirit Visage. There wasn't enough data at the start of 10.3 to give you a 5th item, and most games are ending before you reach a max build anyways, especially for champions that don't get enough a ton of gold, like Soraka, who kind of enters into, Soraka isn't the one getting massive amounts of kills. Like a Darius. Darius is my number 2, and I will have a full build for him because there's enough data on him to give you a full build path. For abilities, it's a little contentious right now for Soraka. At the start of 10.3, I have it in the notes here for the guide. At the moment, W is the best chance for you to win if you max it second. Q in no matter what site you're using is the number one for maxing first. And then E to max third. This might change because E is on the up and up. It gives it's just better because this is a solo queue tier list, not a 5v5 or a competitive tier list. And E is more of a solo carrying spell because it causes damage and gives CC, whereas W, you're supporting your teammates. That's kind of why Soraka is the menace that she is because you can just keep your dumb teammates alive for forever and outlast your dumb opponents. Because let's be honest, if you're looking at tier lists and guides, you're probably not in Masters or Challenger. You're Diamond or below, like almost everybody. It's like 99% of us are Diamond or below. So if you're looking at this guide, including myself, you're not a Challenger or Master player. But anyways, the W, you're just trying to help your crappy teammates. It might be at some point that you can start carrying, and at some point in 10.3, the next video I make, if Soraka is still in the top 5, which I assume she will be, E might be changed to be the second spell that you max. And your skill order is going to be Q, then E, then Q, then W, then Q, then R for your first 6. And you finish maxing Q, then you max W, and then you max E. For runes, every single game, you want to be going Summon Ahri, then Manifold Band, Transcendence, and Scorch. That's the middle sorcery option, then left and left. If you're just listening to this and not reading the names of each spell, usually when I'm looking at tier lists and stuff, I just look quickly at it as I'm switching my runes, and I go, okay, middle, left, right to left, middle, so on and so forth. So for Summon Ahri, you're going to go middle, left for your runes. And then in the Resolve tree, you're going to get Bone Plating and Revitalize, which is the second row right and the third row middle. And then for your last little stat boosts, you're going to get the adaptive power in both of the first two, and then the armor in the third. Darius is the number 2 top lane champion for 10.3, right after Soraka. The spells you're going to want to go are Flash and Ghost every single game. The reason that Ghost has been switched over from Teleport is because Darius has a hard time with being kited. His E is the only thing that really catches people out, his pull. But if you have played against the champion, you know to stay away because you know that he has that pull. And so when Darius was running back a few years ago, Darius would always run Flash Ignite or Flash Teleport, were the top 2 picks. Now that he runs Ghost, he can actually catch up to the opponents that are running away, and it has made his win rate be much more consistent. And this has been going on for a while, so you probably already know that Darius uses Ghost. Moving on to the items. The items you want to be going with, given the 5 sites combined, are Trinity Force first, followed by Mercury Treads, then Sterith Gauge, then Deadman's Plate, and then Spirit Visage. The 5th item, I know when I was saying Soraka, I was going to have a full build, but since this is the start of 10.3, there's not a ton of data yet accumulated for 10.3 Darius. But all of the information points to the last item for Darius being one of defense, depending on who you're playing against, Adaptive Helm or Gargoyle Stoneplate or Randuin's, things like this. Not I mean, those items were there, but any defensive item that you think you need um, is fine here. But this is the build that gives you the highest chance, these 4 items plus the boots. And I forgot to mention it in the Soraka video, so I'm going to go back and give starting items for Soraka. To start off with, you want to be buying Durin's Ring and 2 potions. And then for Darius, you want to be buying Doran's Shield, not Doran's Blade. Shield gives you more sustain, and it helps you against the poke. You don't really need the damage of Durin's Blade. You need the shield against the poke, because most champions, or most people, I mean, are going to try to counterpick Darius. I almost never get last pick Darius in my top lane games. I usually pick him first. And then I get counterpicked. Soraka is the big abuser right now because she's ranged and she can heal and she can, silence you and whatnot, and it's very annoying to play against. But Doran's Shield helps you survive early on before you can engage and threaten a kill in one go. For abilities, you want to be going for your first 6 Q, then E, then W, then Q, then Q, then R. You want to max your Q first, then you want to max your E, and then you want to max your W. Side note, if you do go for an early invade, E is something that you should think about leveling if your team is invading, just because having the pull early on is better than doing the Q damage. Most likely there's not going to be a team fight early where Q would be better, and it's better to just try to pull the individual out. There's a lot of Blitzcranks and Nautilus and Thresh and whatnot in this current meta. So I've seen a lot of invades and I start E in those instances. For runes, you want to be going Conquer, then Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace. And those are the middle left and the left options after Conquer. And you're going to be going the Resolve Tree, and you'll be getting Demolish and Bone Plating. Demolish is the top left, and Bone Plating is the middle right. Then you want to be getting the attack speed, then adaptive force, then armor. The armor you can switch for magic resist. It has been I've been switching over to magic resist a little bit more just because of, like I said, Soraka is in the meta and armor doesn't really do anything against her. But at the attack speed and the adaptive force you always want to get. Now moving on to Jax, which is number 3 on our tier list for top lane champions. The summoner spells you're going to want to be using are Flash and Teleport. The item path you're going to want to go is starting with Corrupting Potion. Then you're going to want to build Tiamat first. This is because Jax is a Tiamat user. I think there's a build that I saw that goes Black Cleaver, but it's not nearly as good as going Tiamat into Trinity Force. Anyways, you go Tiamat first and then straight into Trinity Force. Then you get your boots 2, then Death Stance, Sterix, Titanic, and then Guardian. For abilities, you're going to want to start E, then Q, then W all the way to level 5, and then R. And you're going to want to max your W first, then your Q, and then your E. Moving on to runes, you're going to want to go Conquer with Inspiration. You're going to go Triumph, Tenacity, and Last Stand. That's the middle left middle, and then right for the the Conqueror tree. And then in Inspiration, you're going to get the Magical Footwear and the Time Warp Tonic. Then you're going to want to go Attack Speed for your first stat, Adaptive, and then Armor. Jax's stat bonus, as you can see here, I'm going to, when I publish this guide, I'll have a few comments on it. They're very close for which one's better, either Adaptive in this first slot or Attack Speed. I'll update it next week to see if this is going to be the most consistent build path. Moving on to number 4 is Camille for our top lane. You're going to want to go Flash and Teleport on Camille. Your items, you're going to go Dorn's Blade into Tiamat. Camille's another Tiamat user. Tiamat into Trinity Force, the Ninja Tabby, and unlike the other Tiamat users, you're going to get Ravenous Hydra on Camille. And then go into Sterak's and Guardians. There isn't a final item on this just because at the moment there isn't enough data for the final item. And it's unlike with Darius earlier, it's a toss-up for whether you go offense or defense in the last item at the moment. I will update this once there's more data on this patch. Then moving on to our abilities. You're going to want to go W first, then Q, E, Q, Q, and then R, and you're going to max your Q first, then you're going to max E, and then you're going to max W. And then moving on to runes, you're going to do Conquer with Inspiration, and you're going to get Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace. That's the middle left and the left for the Conqueror tree. And you're going to go into Inspiration and get Magic Footwear and Biscuit Delivery. And then for the stats, you're going to get double Adaptive and then Armor. Then finally, we have Kled as our 5th top lane top champion. For summoner spells, you're going to go Flash and Teleport. Excuse me. Then you're going to go for his items during Blade Start into Tiamat. And then into Black Cleaver, Ninja Tabby. Then finish off your Tiamat into Titanic Hydra. Then Sterak's Gauge, Guardian, and then finally Yumu's Ghostblade. Then for abilities, you're going to want to go Q, E, W, Q, Q, R for your first 6. You're going to max Q, then max W, and then max E. And for his runes, you're going to go Conqueror with the Resolve tree. And under the Conqueror, you're going to go Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace, which is middle, left, left. And then under the Resolve, you're going to go Demolish and Bone Plating. This was very close. I haven't put here in the note section yet, but Sorcery is on the up and up, and it actually has a better win rate than this Demolish Bone Plating build. However, because it's played not as much as the Resolve tree for this patch at the moment, the data might be a little skewed for which one is better for the majority of the time for the majority of players. At the moment, you're still getting, I think, the most benefit out of staying in the Resolve tree instead of going Sorcery for the consistent high percentage wins instead of high percentage pick that might be a little bit misleading this early on in the patch. And then for the stats, you're going to go double Adaptive and Armor. So those are the 5 champions. Like I said, Soraka, then Darius, Jax, Camille, and then Kled. All of these champions, by the way, have a very high win rate. Any 5 of them is going to get you consistent victories. And I just want to make this first video a little more broad at the end and say that meta-analysis using all 5 of these sites, Lawlytics, OPGG, League of Graphs, UGG, and Blitz, I'm basically just adding them together into one. And like I said earlier in this video, I think, and it's important to note that all these 5 champions, I'm not saying myself that, for example, if you play Soraka, that you're going to have a high win rate. All of these champions are the best picks if you are good at the champions. any tier list you need to take with a little bit of grain of salt along with it. For example, um, when was it? Echo was a well, I think it still is. I haven't. I'm gonna do the jungle meta tomorrow, but I think he still is the best jungle at the moment. He was, I think, in 10.2 for my meta analysis. But I am god awful at Echo in the jungle. I don't know what I'm doing wrong necessarily, but for me, I have a very negative win rate, uh, something like 45% or something awful after like 10 or 15 games of Echo jungle. And yeah, so I just, if I kept playing Echo, even though he's the number one, it's not like I'm getting an auto win. And none of these are necessarily going to be an auto win for you. So, for example, if you've never played top Soraka, in your ranked games, you might want to stick with, if you're more used to playing Darius in the top, you might want to stick playing Darius top, just knowing that Soraka is going to be a tough matchup for you now. Although you could get wins off of the Sorakas who have no earth idea what they're doing. I haven't really played too much Soraka top. Um, Played a decent amount, and I've done really well, but I have been playing since before there was a ranked in League of Legends, and Soraka was a champion that I have run into many times, and played myself, just because I'm pretty sure she's an original champion. I don't remember, but anyways, the take all of that into consideration when you're choosing champions. Don't take anything to be 100%. But this is why I started this meta analysis for myself, because on different sites there's different champions. My friends would say, oh, on OPGG the top is you know X champion, and on the one that I'm using, let's say I was using Lolalytics at the time because I really like it. Um, it wasn't any, it was like number 10 or something like that. Which one's correct? Um, and I'll probably make a video at some point going through my process and going through the setup for everything. But just be aware that everything is based on averages, and everything for this analysis is based on the long-term, consistent winning. Um, if over the short term you're losing a bunch and you don't improve, let's say you start playing Soraka, for example, which is my number one on this list, and you don't improve with Soraka, and you've played 20 games and have a 30% win rate, stop playing Soraka. Don't force it to the point where you are tanking your elo so hard, because most of us are not professional players. We're not playing for 8 hours a day. A professional player can tank into low diamond practicing a new champion. But for people who, I would say, more the average person, which these meta analysis are for, like I said, the majority of us, like 99%, are diamond or below. No point hiding it. Uh, Most people, we don't have enough time in a given day to um, play an OP champion for a particular patch, and you just have to kind of accept that some people will be able to pick up the top tier champions and crush, and your best chance, and most consistent chance to climb is to stick with what you are still good at. That's why most solo queue videos say to become basically a one trick and play one champion no matter what, because that is the most consistent way to climb. But I have never really liked playing one champion over and over again. I play for fun, but I also want to win, and so I've been using the my own meta-analysis spreadsheets that I have in order to just see which is the current best champions given all of these different sites, and then choose the ones that I can actually play, um, in order to make sure that I have the best chance for myself to climb. That's what these videos are for. Anyways, guys, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave it down in my description. I do have a Patreon page. I'll leave it in the description for the video. I hope you guys enjoy everything, and thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more.